Newcastle United. Y'all made some good signings. We got Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson this week. So let's start with you, C4. How you feeling? You buzzing about the new signings?
I'm really happy today.
Yeah, you look it, man.
I mean, when you look at going into a season with either Joe Ellington or Andy Carroll as your starting striker, I think you're happy when Wilson signs for your team.
Yeah.
Especially with, I just want to shout out, I think the best marketing propaganda for Newcastle when he said he signed in part the movie Goal, which is the reason why I became a Newcastle fan. His son watches it and he loves it. But getting into more why we're here in terms of FPL with these two, I joke about it, but when you start looking at it, four-man attack of Wilson, Fraser, Almiron, and ASM, that's starting to look a little like viable, cheap options. I think Wilson and Fraser will come in and around the 7 million mark. But to me, I originally had ASM in my first draft of my team, but then I was getting worried of, who's he going to interact with offensively? Now you have another two players to enter that bunch, and I put ASM back into the draft of my team. I personally don't see Fraser and Wilson at 7.0 doing that well from an FPL perspective for players, but he'll boost someone like an ASM or an Almiron who are at a cheaper price point.
So right now I want to ask you, while you're excited and possibly a little delusional, what do these signings mean for Newcastle United? What place do you think they're going to finish real quick?
Came in, 14th last year?
13th, I believe. 13th last year.
Burnley was 13th. Okay, never mind. I think this, combined with Newcastle traditionally starts very poorly to begin the season, but this year, shorter break, better fixtures to start off the year. Christmas is hell, but who cares? We'll cross that bridge once we get there. I'm looking at 12th to 10th. Because to me,
ambitious.
What? They finished didn't they finish 11th the year before, Brucey with?
I just thought you were gonna say something a little higher. I wanted to ask you today.
No,
I thought you'd say like 8th, maybe.
To me, what this means though is I don't think Mike Ashley is the one spending this money. I think this is signaling that someone's telling him, "Hey, we're still going to try buying the team, but we'll cover any transfers you make now to keep the team in the Premier League."
Could be,
That's what I think it means. Do you think Newcastle's finishing higher than 10th to 12th?
No, absolutely not. I just thought maybe you would.
Being a fan of a...
Keep going.
I'm just going to say, being a fan of a shitty team, like Newcastle or even in Canada, like the Maple Leafs, it teaches you to be really cautious with your expectations.
Oh yeah, I'm a Knicks fan in the NBA, so I definitely get that. But let's move back into FPL here. Gash, how are you feeling about Fraser and Wilson? Will they be a deadly combo?
So first, let me say that C4 makes these little headlines scrolling across the bottom. Let's don't see them until they play the episodes. So
I just
think
saw
it's a pretty accurate description of how he's feeling about these transfers.
Let's read it for those listening in. It says
sure. So it says right. I got it. It says raining cats and dogs in Newcastle. The Toons signed Fraser and Wilson.
Yeah. So
you should see one of the other headlines I've ready.
Oh God.
Yeah. So looking at the players, I think it's it's a big question mark at the moment. While we're recording this episode, we don't have prices for either of the two. I think Fraser will come in a little bit cheaper than Wilson. I think Callum Wilson had that run of games at the start of last season where he was on fire and then didn't really do too much afterwards. If he's priced somewhere, the 6.5 to 7 million range, there aren't really too many, strikers in that range right now. So it would make it really interesting. Any of your like Mitrovic's and your Adams and Bamford are all like 5.5, 6 million. So it's just, another aspect to consider when you're building your team. I think that, ASM, Fraser, Almiron, and Wilson all going forward could actually gel pretty well. Fraser he got a lot of assists, a few seasons back to Wilson. I think typically at Bournemouth, he kind of played off the wing rather than a central creative role. So we'll see how that affects, because ASM and Almiron both like to play off the wing as well. So we'll see how they can, kind of work together, if they can or not. But for the moment, I'm, staying away. But if Newcastle start getting into form, I could look to pick up one of those two guys.
Yeah. Tazz?
Yeah, I agree. Personally, I don't think this is another case where like the transfers help bolster the the other players already in the team. I would consider ASAM more now because of these two transfers. It's kind of how like C4 mentioned before. You're thinking like, who is he gonna play along with? Where is he gonna get like his returns from? But now Wilson, who's a more he's not a top goal scorer like Ings or Vardy or Kane, but he is known to score goals. So I believe he'll help out that Newcastle's team, and I'm more interested in him for Wilson. I see him coming in around like that 7 million. Last season he came in like 8 million and then dropped down through the course of the season. I think like to just like 7.3 or 4. So that to me just shows he's gonna just be 7 million, I believe. And then Fraser, I can see him 6.5, 7. I believe for those two players, that price range, there's somewhat better options, but I definitely considering ASM more now.
Yeah, kind of like the one thing I would, if there's one thing to kind of remember about each player, I would say Fraser. I don't think he's played a game since March, because I don't think he played post lockdown. He refused to sign a new contract with Bournemouth, so it might take him a little time to get to match fitness. Mm-hmm. And then C4, correct me if I'm wrong. So I know Callum Wilson got the number 9 for Newcastle. Was that Joe Linton last year that had that?
Yeah, and so to follow up on that, it's kind of a joke on the Newcastle subreddit. We don't know where he is right now. People are speculating that he's in quarantine, but like
Joe Linton?
At the moment we only had Andy Carroll in the preseason playing striker.
Are there rumors of him heading out? Anything concrete?
I mean, no, which is like the surprising part. Like you would think there would at least be some sort of update, but nothing on that. His numbers taken away. It's
that's a big sign right there.
What, he was a 40 million transfer last year. Like you're not getting listed that. So I could see maybe a loan there. But Gash, just following up on one of the points you made, like you talk about, Fraser hasn't played since March, so it's like a concern, but you don't say the same thing about like a Ziyech, who, although he was training, he hasn't played a competitive match since lockdown.
No, I think that's an important, consideration as well. The one thing I would worry is that, if Fraser is, almost like the mental state, because, he refused. So the way I understand is he refused to sign the contract extension at Bournemouth to, for basically the lockdown. And then, Eddie Howe said, all right, well, I'm not picking you anymore. So, I don't know if he's, typically one of those players that something like that would affect him or not, but it's just something to think about when, starting off the season.